So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. For those of you that are on the West Coast, very excited to kick off 2021 with a four-part UCaaS, Unified Communications as a Service, and Contact Center series focused on the changes that Matrix Networks has been seeing in the industry. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan Graven. I'm the Vice President of Matrix Networks. I have an all-star cast of presenters for this 1 hour session today. We'll be joined by Kyle Holmes, the President of Matrix Networks, who will be introducing the changes that we're seeing in the industry and what's going on and how we can take advantage of the situation that we've all been thrust into. 2020 brought us unprecedented changes, and with that comes action that needs to be taken. And so we hope to introduce some solutions today that can improve your current UCaaS environments or your current telephony, your current communications environments, and optimize the technology that's available on today's market. Along those veins, Shruti Kapoor is joining us from WingMan, which is the application that we are highlighting today in this integrated application session. Shruti is joining us from across the globe, so it's 11:30 at night over there. Highly appreciated her taking the time to join us. If she yawns, please pardon. Makes perfect sense. And then Matt Russell and Joe Master joining us from our RingCentral team. RingCentral is our premier partner for unified communications, and very thankful to have them as part of this presentation. So thank you to everybody that's joining, and thank you for the participants. As always, everybody always says this, we want this to be interactive as possible. So there's always the Q&A, and I will be fielding any questions along the way and try to interject as I can to get you answers in order to spur some of that activity. I do have gift cards available for those that do have the questions on mind and would like to get them answered. Of course, they have to be good ones. You can't just ask me how the weather is in Portland. That will not qualify. But I would love to incentivize some interaction in this conversation and get as much out of this time as possible. So, lastly, this is the first of 4 webinars that we were putting on with the education around unified communications and contact center, as most of you know. So I hope to see many of you on our next webinar, which is in about 2 weeks. And all you have to do is attend 2 of these webinars out of 4 to qualify for our bourbon tasting, which will be in March. Going to be a great time. So I hope that you all have a chance to attend, not just 2, but all 4. Enjoy the education, enjoy the presentation. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Kyle Holmes. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate it. And everybody else that's joining the call today, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy days to join us. I'm going to start off here just with a quick introduction to who Matrix Networks is. Matrix Networks was founded in 1984, and we were really founded on the concept of delivering customer service into communications platforms. At the time, these providers weren't known for their great customer service, and we really felt there was an opportunity for us to differentiate on that. As time went on, we've really evolved. So we've grown from being a deployer of PBX and fax lines and running cable to being a company that's largely focused on network and deployment. So our network first approach means we set the stage for you to be able to adopt applications, adopt cloud, and not worry about the plumbing to get to the applications that you need. Additional to that, we also have our concierge deployment, which is a world-class deployment that we layer on top of services from companies like RingCentral. So as you're going through your deployment process, we're walking you through that with a dedicated project manager. We have training built. We build videos specifically for our clients. We handle all the porting and all the complexities. And of course, we go through this design phase, which is a lot of what we're talking about today, which is how do we get the most out of the communications platforms and the tools that we have available to us. We're also a RingCentral Premier Partner. We were the first in the Pacific Northwest. We were recently elevated to Premier Partner statusship, which is fantastic. We love the relationship we have with RingCentral, and they really align with us because they share a lot of the same core values about customer service and innovation. We believe very much that in order to deliver for our clients, we have to have world-class customer service, because that really differentiates us and allows our clients to focus on the things that make them money, that solve problems in their business and make their lives better. But beyond that, we got to bring innovative solutions. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. are new solutions that RingCentral and WingMan and others in the industry have brought to the table. We're going to talk a little bit of this through the concept of sales and the lens of sales, but keep in mind that this particular technology and these tools apply whether customer facing in a support role, a sales role, billing, collections, does not matter. There's so many different avenues at which we can take advantage of what's coming to market at this time. The opportunity for us to improve is insane. We got to take advantage of it. And so we're going to be talking today about application integration, new ideas and solutions, and the infinite possibilities that that brings to us. So just very briefly, we have put out a very nice informational video on YouTube you can check out on APIs and integrations. APIs are the backbone of this presentation because without them, there are no integrations. It allows for different platforms and different technologies to connect in new and unique ways. And it's very versatile because what it allows companies to do, like WingMan, the example that we brought to here today, is allow smaller companies to latch on to existing platforms and bring new and innovative technology that changes the way we do business. It doesn't require the core companies to do this. It allows people to specialize and provide very unique and defined tools. We're really excited about what these have to offer. So what's the problem we're really addressing today? Right, so we talk about sales, we talk about customer service, and one of the biggest things we struggle with is getting the data that we need. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes a lot of knowledge to know where to look for said information. Once we've gathered it, correlating the data is really hard. How do we take words and ideas and translate them to action and results? Even surveys and other tools that we have fall short because they don't look at the underlying reasons why we got good scores. And at the end of the day, sales leadership isn't known for being data scientists. That is not their background. They're skilled people persons. That doesn't sound quite right. And they are also fantastic at leading people. But looking at data and analyzing data and understanding how to correlate data is not their strength. It needs to be done for them so that they can focus their energies on the things that they're really fantastic at. The results of this is it's difficult to define success. It's difficult to define what makes people successful. It takes time and effort once that data is collected to actually put it into some sort of coaching practice. And as you do that, the clock is ticking because it's changing constantly. And when we think we have it figured out and we deploy a coaching strategy, guess what? The market changes, a pandemic hits, new technology comes to market. We're always fighting this battle right now where we're behind in our coaching. It's late and we're missing opportunities in the interim. At the same time, that coaching process is again burning staff time. It's burning the time of the account executive or the customer service, but also the leadership around that, trying to figure out how to solve a problem. So what we have is kind of a perfect storm here to kind of take advantage of this moment to solve for this long time problem, something that's been plaguing human beings since sales became a thing, which is arguably the oldest profession ever. So work from home is the first piece of that. Our prospective clients are working from home as well. What does that mean? They're difficult to reach. Each interaction we have is more important than ever. Okay? At the same time, it forces us into using mediums that we can document. We're talking about email, text, video, voice. In-person meetings are difficult for us to document because they're in person. But when we're connecting from a work from home environment, everything can be recorded, everything can be analyzed, and we can understand a lot more of what's really going on in the world. Cloud-based products react. So we've seen huge amounts of development in the last 12 months on cloud-based platforms, allowing for work from home, allowing for more productivity, better visibility for supervisors, more tools for at-home workers, and easier to access platforms. Second piece of this puzzle is integrations as described, right? So allowing for new ideas and new concepts to come to market, freedom of choice and movement for us as consumers. Suddenly we aren't tied to some big piece of hardware, to some thought process or idea or some monolithic platform. We're allowed to move and migrate and adopt technology that makes sense for us. Gives us freedom of choice and movement. Okay, it's great, but also ensure we get that data that we need. With those integrations, we can start to pull the different data sets together into a centralized way in which we can look at this that actually gives us insight into what we're going to be doing next and eliminate the wasteful work, which I mean entering the data multiple times in multiple places, pulling the data from a lot of different places, and trying to correlate all that information. And the last piece of this is really the AI piece of this. So artificial intelligence, we hear this thrown around a lot, and it's growing, it's changing. But the biggest piece of this is natural language processing, NLP. The ability for us to take the way we talk and analyze that, translate it, and start looking for trends and information, whether that be through text, whether that be through voice, whether that be through video. We need to understand and document all of these interactions so that we can see the trends. We can start to identify what works in our customer service process to get fantastic survey results. We can start to look at why is it that this particular salesperson consistently overachieves and this one over here struggles? What could we do to coach them? AI allows us to look at that data, give us the trends, make the correlations so that we can continue to give the feedback in real time to agents and to salespeople, right? So also live feedback is a big piece of this too. As we identify this coaching, right, we identify, hey, these are trends. These are things that need to be handled a specific way within our customer service or sales process. Now AI can be listening to conversations, can identify when conversations are going off the rails, can identify when we're taking the wrong tact, or look at an email and analyze it and give us suggested responses. Give us ideas of how we should be actually addressing the customer need instead of kind of going it alone in the dark in this perfect storm of lightning. In-depth coaching tools. So really important that AI provides that in-depth coaching tool and gives us the calls to analyze, right? Instead of going through the needle in the haystack, which is how we used to do call recording and reviewing. We would go, let us take 15 calls and randomly look at them. Well, those 15 calls may include important information, or they may not. You may miss something and spend 6 hours on it. Well, if AI was able there to come in, analyze that information, they're going to give you the data to be able to analyze the right call, the right moment, the right email, the right text. So what does this look like? When it comes down to it, at this moment, failure looks like not dreaming big enough. The solutions that are out there and are possible are incredible. If we aren't looking at how we can implement them into our business and we aren't dreaming big, we're selling ourselves short because our competitors are. Okay. We accept our current struggles as part of the job. Okay. Complacency. We say, well, it's just the way it is. I have to enter this data 4 different places. It's just the way it is. How much time are we wasting because we just accept something as part of our job? We try to find a single panacea instead of looking at process. We think, ooh, this one tool will fix everything. This one thing is the solution to all my problems. Doesn't necessarily work like that. We don't actually want to see what's under the covers. I think this is very common in too many organizations. If you look closely, you might see how ugly it is, right? Okay, we have to be willing to examine our own flaws in order to improve. So what does success look like? We give the best experience possible to our clients in every interaction. And that's through that live coaching. That's through the tools that we have available to us. We improve our revenue and become more efficient. We hit the mark more often, right? We convert more opportunities. We take care of clients better. They stay and they retain. These are all things that improve our revenue. We share best practices easily and freely. We see them, we spot them, and then we can share them. And we allow sales leadership to be more innovative instead of stuck in rote mechanic work. So the keys to our success: identify solutions. What medium do we want to be looking at? What integrations do we need? What's the tool set that we ultimately want to see here? And make sure that anything that we select allows for that open API integration so that we can continue to work with a lot of different sets and products and continue to evolve as we go. Sure, you have a source of truth. Where is this data going? Who's responsible? How's this all going to be collected and correlated? And then we got to teach the staff to actually utilize these tools. Too often we buy expensive tools, we buy expensive products, and then they're underutilized and undervalued. And that's where Matrix can help your team through teaching them the ways to take advantage of what is offered. Assist with development of scripts, email, voice, etc. Teaching supervisors how to coach. You know, it's not always the upper end of sales leadership who may be leading this charge that's actually having the interactions with staff. It's important that they mimic the exact talk track and process that you're looking to ensure. Never stop looking for improvements. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It isn't completed in a 3-month cycle. This is something that has to be on top of mind year in, year out, day in, day out. And as you go through that process, you're going to identify more and more things that you can do to remove the barriers for your salespeople, for your customer service staff, so that they can be more effective in less time. Okay. So that concludes kind of our introduction here of the process. So we're going to go on to spotlight applications and a couple different things. Shruti's going to take over here in just a half second. And I just want to say we're very excited to have WingMan here, and this is a great example of how RingCentral can connect to different applications to continue to add value for clients, whether you're an existing RingCentral client, a future RingCentral client. These sort of tools, there's a whole bunch of them available on the market, are specific to your industry, your needs, and your talk tracks. Matrix Networks is very familiar with those and would love to connect you. Really excited about WingMan because what it does is very unique, and I think it can have a huge impact to organizations in a wide range of ways. So without further ado, I am going to pass this off to Shruti, and thank you so much everybody for listening to me and enduring that particular topic. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And, that was a fantastic introduction. I don't think I could have said that better in terms of what technology can do today. I know, we kind of tight on time here, so I'll, try and make sure that I show you as much I can of what AI is able to do today already, and also help you all understand what the possibilities are. I will, definitely keep some time for Q&A. So, let's get started. Like Kyle was saying, right, we've all been through the journey where we know calls can be recorded. We've all heard, this call will be recorded for training and quality purposes. But do you know how often those calls are actually listened to, right? Like less than 1% of those calls people go back and listen to because it's just too time consuming, right? And so what WingMan comes in and does is bring in all of that intelligence for managers to be able to, address some of these concerns that they have, right? Like how can, are they going to make their sales numbers this month? What is it that's working for a particular rep? How do they onboard the new reps faster? All right. So these are some of the different, challenges for sales managers, or even for all of the other customer-facing, client-facing managers out there. And so what WingMan does is it tries to bring a lot of the intelligence from the different tools into one place. Right. So some of the tools that we connect with, definitely dialers. Of course, RingCentral is here. We are a partner of RingCentral. We sync up with the calendars of the customer-facing reps, and that allows us to actually join even meetings like these, and the video conferencing tools, Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, etc. And of course, the backbone of customer-facing teams, which is the CRM. So it brings in the intelligence from all of these places. And literally what that means is you're no longer relying on your reps to tell you what's going on with a particular deal or an account. You have access to all of that information in a manner that doesn't take you hours and hours of work. So let me just show you, firstly, what does this look like in terms of insights, and then we can dive into what does this look like when you actually want to dig deeper. All right. So when you are, a customer-facing team, one of the things that you want to know is what is impacting your win rates, right? Like, what are some of those behaviors that are really working well for the team? Now, this, is a dashboard that immediately throws light on some of the things that are having a big impact on win versus loss. So if you look here, it's showing you that, in all of the deals that were won, the talk to listen ratio was 46% versus deals that were lost where that ratio is much higher, right? Similarly, all of the other things that you see here are again telling you what is the difference between, in what was happening in the calls that led to deals being won versus what was happening in the calls that led to deals being lost. Now, if as a manager I come in here, I don't have to have listened to a single call to know that, looks like I'm very likely to win deals where competition is being brought up. And so maybe a takeaway is to actually quickly find out if the prospect is speaking to a competition and make sure that I'm aware of that through my sales journey, right? Similarly, maybe the other insight is, I need to coach my reps to talk less during these deals. So that's, just some of those type of things that you can get, really quickly as an outsider. The second type of insights that you can get here are also insights on competition. So how often are different competitions showing up in my deals? And then a derivative of that is how often am I losing a deal to a particular competitor? The other thing that you want to be able to do is then look at behaviors for each rep, right? So like Kyle mentioned, you have your A players and you have your B and C players in the team. You want to understand what is it that the A players are doing right, right? And then what you want to do is you want to create a playbook that helps your B and C players do better. So what this does is it helps you understand what some of those plays are that are working well for your A players, and you can define your playbooks in a lot of detail. So you could go in and say, you know what, I want to be able to track, qualification questions that I've set, and then I want to see which of my reps are actually asking those questions, and at what stage of the deal are they asking those questions. So all of that data is, available to you here. I won't go into a lot of detail, but yeah, of course, if people have questions, please, keep putting that in the Q&A section, and we'll come back to that. But it's really exciting insights that people can get. Like one of the insights a customer of ours got was how often do what happens when a customer comes up with an objection or a blocker? Am I more likely to lose a deal if an objection comes up? So contrary to their belief, they were, twice as likely to win a deal where an objection came up versus a situation where the objection didn't come up. And, it's an interesting takeaway, because what you can understand is if an objection is coming up, my reps have the option of actually addressing the objection. But if the customer just says, oh, this looks great, but then, maybe just ghosts you, you're not able to even address the objections. And so they were able to go back and say, you know what, maybe we need to bring in preemptive closing into the sales process to try and bring out these objections early on. So yeah, you can get insights like that. And of course, one of the things with teams being remote today is you want to be able to get insights on, just basic productivity numbers. So what this is doing here is it's showing you, how many calls happened, and then it's showing you that data for each of your reps, along with the call duration. So simple things like that are available at the click of the button. Also, because it's bringing in data from different platforms, it's able to show you this as a combination of, all of the dialer calls, the video calls, and jointly the numbers for both. So, when when people come in here, they form some hypothesis on what's working well in their sales process, or they often want to go and establish maybe things within the sales process. Now, like one of the things that Kyle mentioned is you don't want to blindly pick 6 calls that you're going to review today. Instead, what the tool also lets you do is to help you intelligently pick calls that you need to look at. So one of the things that you can come in and do is you can say, you know what, I only want to look at calls, where it was a large deal and a competitor was mentioned and maybe pricing was discussed. Now, once you have that, kind of set of important things that you want to look for, you can easily do all sorts of complex filtering because it's bringing in data on the deals from the CRM, it's bringing in what actually happened in the calls, and it's labeling that using all of the AI and NLP. So it knows that, let's look at calls with pricing, let's look at call with competition, and, maybe define a deal size. The other thing that you're able to do is you can also set up alerts for these. So, you can proactively get informed when, calls meeting that criteria happen. Similarly, this also becomes a great place to onboard new reps because you can actually create playlists for them, right? And every time I have a new hire, I can tell them that, this is a set of calls I've identified that I want them to listen to. And when they go in to any of these calls, I can also point them to, exactly where I wanted them to listen to in the call and why. Right. So this can all be time stamped.
I don't know how many others, but I very quickly found out that, like, okay, someone's already.
Right. So this makes it, this also becomes a great resource for, onboarding new people. But because voice of customer is so important to all parts of the organization, it also becomes a great resource to share with marketing, product, and other teams within the company as well. The way the tool pricing, etc., is set up is that you only pay for people who need to record calls, but you get unlimited observer licenses, which is great because it actually reduces the burden on the customer-facing teams to have to go and update, different stakeholders after every meeting. Right now, they can just tag people here. Those people will get, a notification saying check this call or whatever comment you want to leave, and so it becomes super easy for people to know and not spend so much time in just repeating themselves. So this is this is the second part of what people want to be able to do is, of course, you want to be able to come in and deep dive into a call, right? Except this is like a 66-minute call. I don't want to listen to it end to end. So the AI does a lot of different things to help people quickly understand, the important moments in the call. So I'll just spend a couple of minutes on this, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So of course, one of the things that it does is it identifies the different speakers in the call. In a video meeting, it identifies even multiple participants that are there. In a call, like a dialer call that you might be making to RingCentral, what it does is it has a voice fingerprint of the sales rep. So it identifies the sales rep and then it labels the other speaker as the customer. So what that allows you to do is it gives you important things like it gives you the talk to listen ratio. It tells you, what was the longest monologue of the salesperson. And you can also get stats like, how interactive was this call? What that means is, how many times did the conversation go back and forth? Or was it just, a one long monologue after another? So those type of things are immediately obvious. The CRM data is right there, so it, it makes it much more contextual as you review the call. The transcript makes it really easy to kind of scroll through and quickly navigate. But more importantly, you can also search for anything. So I could say, let me see if we spoke about pricing. And then it's showing me all of the occasions where maybe pricing was discussed in this call. And again, if I click on that, it starts playing from there. I don't need to kind of scroll through. It also shows me those tags on a timeline. So, sometimes it's useful, like you might see a big cluster somewhere and maybe that was just the pricing discussion piece. There are also some other interesting highlights that it does. So in real time, it allows people on video calls to take notes. So they can, there's a little widget that allows them to just bookmark things. And, because it's a webinar, I can't have my little widget here. But what this does is then, I don't have to go back and listen to the whole call. I know these are the important points. The AI also identifies all of the different questions automatically, which is also a great resource, especially when it comes to managers when they want to look for, what are the common questions that customers are asking. How do I train my team for them? And then the next steps are picked up by the AI automatically, and you get to define a bunch of your own playbooks and things that are important to you, and those get tracked here as well. So that makes it super easy for you to kind of go back and forth and look for things that matter. The comments is a great piece for collaboration. Sometimes people also want to be able to share, especially in the case of demos like this, they might want to share this back with the prospect because maybe there were 3 people on the team who needed to be on the call but couldn't make it. So you can also, create like guest links. And the great thing is you can get notified when the person views the call. So from a sales perspective, that's pretty handy because when to kind of jump back in to this deal. So yeah, I think that's a lot of the analytics piece. One of the great things about WingMan is we really focus on it being a WingMan for the entire sales team, and so there is a bunch of capability in real time that the tool has. So one of the things that it does is you can set up your own cue cards. And so when any of those things are spoken about, these cards will show up automatically on the screen. Right. So if I could set up cue cards for objection handling, if somebody said, hey, this is not a great time, automatically a card will pop up. So think of it like battle cards meet Alexa, right? So just listening to the call and automatically showing you the information that you need. And then the other thing that it does is it also brings in the context across the entire deal pipeline. So, this is just showing you a quick overview of the open deals, when were they last contacted. But more importantly, when I click on that, it's bringing in context from, the calls, the emails, putting that all in a neat timeline for me to quickly review and see, were there long breaks, were there long silences. It's also showing me whether it was the customer who emailed me or was it the rep who emailed. So things like that, which make it super useful for a sales manager to just quickly review the deal. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. I would love to take any questions people might have.
Thank you, Shruti. We only have one question in the Q&A portion, so thank you, Mr. Cass. Is WingMan completely SaaS-based, or are there any server service agent requirements and compatible with all my Chromebook users?
Yeah, so WingMan, all of the things that you saw today, that is completely SaaS-based. It's completely run off the browser. Some of the real-time components work as a desktop app that works on Windows or MacBooks. We don't have a version for that app for Chromebook users yet. But all of the analytics pieces are just browser-based.
Excellent. Thank you. As I mentioned, these applications, WingMan is applicable to any communication solution that you are currently utilizing. Hopefully you made the right choice and went with RingCentral. But if you did not, it is applicable to all UCaaS. And maybe you could just touch briefly, since we have a few more minutes, on how the pricing model works out for those that are interested in implementing something like this.
Sure. So, it of course integrates with those different platforms. We price it on a per user basis. It starts at $500 per rep for the year, right? And you get unlimited licenses for observers. So what it means is you might have 5 people actively maybe making dials or calls. You might have other people in the team who are just, managers, quality experts, sales enablement folks, etc. They can all get access to the platform completely for free, and they can just go in, listen to calls, leave comments, and all of that stuff. So we have 2 different pricing plans, $500 and $750. There's a little bit of feature difference, but yeah, it's super accessible. There's no setup fee, onboarding fee, and all of that stuff.
Excellent. And another one just came in about automated reporting.
Yeah, so there is a bunch of automated reporting that happens. There are also automated alerts that you can set up. We also send out weekly automated emails, which include recommendations for calls that the AI picks on, what calls we think might be relevant for that team to coach on. And we also provide API access. So, if people need to go back and integrate that with Segment or something else, they can do that too.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much, Shruti. I really appreciate the overview there. Obviously, that was just a snippet of the solution itself, since we're crunched on time. I do want to reiterate, folks, that RingCentral has an app store of over 150, I believe, applications. 250. I mean, so really this is just one out of a plethora of options, and they're not all around sales and service. So back to Kyle's point about dreaming big. Not everybody needs to deploy a fancy contact center in order to achieve the goals that they're looking for with their communications environment. So just thinking about what we want to do with our solutions and enhancing them through applications like those provided by RingCentral is just paramount to success. So I'll get off my soapbox and hand it over to Mr. Matt Russell to round about this session.
Awesome. Joe, if you wouldn't mind, could you start sharing your screen, please?
Absolutely, I sure can.
Love it. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all. Thank you very much, Matrix, for hosting us as a premier partner here in Pacific Northwest. So we truly do appreciate the partnership. My name is Matt Russell. I'm a strategic manager here at RingCentral. I'm located in Central Oregon. I'm joined here today by Mr. Joseph Mast. He is our resident solution engineer of the West. Today, we're going to take you through just a snippet of a day in the life of a RingCentral user. So before I really progress, Shruti, wonderful presentation on WingMan and the productivity, efficiency analytics. With that comes productivity tools like RingCentral. So a great segue. I think we can kind of all agree here that employee and business day-to-day looked a lot different from this time last year. The business playbook is being completely rewritten. Entities are redefining the requirements based on employee and customer requirements and expectations. So RingCentral is a leading UCaaS provider here globally, available in 40 plus countries. Joe, if you wouldn't mind, next slide, please. Our mission really is to make communication simple and effortless for anyone. Next slide, please. And I love this one, across any device, any mode, anywhere. And I'm a true believer in this. Joe, next slide. So I went ahead and did something really crazy here during this pandemic. And that is, I sold my house, sold my car, sold everything, packed up my wife, a very understanding wife of 8+ years, a 2-year-old, 250 pounds of dog, and we moved into a motorhome. And we jet set across 19 states, over 7,700 miles, one blown tire, not one single RingCentral video call missed, not one single RingCentral meeting missed. I was remaining to be a productive employee here within the RingCentral arena and supporting my partners like Matrix. And Ryan, I hope that you can attest that I was never late to our calls. I was always able to make those calls and be a productive member of those calls. So it's really truly not just a work from home type of hashtag out there. And I know we're seeing a lot of that, WFH. Well, we're challenging that here at RingCentral, and it's truly a work from anywhere. Work is no longer a place. It is truly an activity. And I don't see this going away anytime soon, but it's a distributed workforce out there. And it's extremely important that we not only enable those employees to be distributed and be productive, but it's extremely important to have the leaders have ways to remain leading a distributed workforce, and through productivity tools like WingMan, through productivity tools like a platform like RingCentral. So with that, thank you once again. Joe, I'm going to hand it over to you, and we can talk about a day in the life here.
Certainly not a problem. Hey, thank you very much, Matt, and good morning, everybody. Joe Mast, Solutions Engineer with RingCentral. And I've worked with Matt for a while, and everything he talks to is truth. What we see nowadays is that as a service products have not been more relevant than they are in recent history because of everything that's been going on within the global climate. And so when you look at applications like WingMan and RingCentral, they really offer the agility and flexibility of being able to work from anywhere with the same type of efficiency that you'd have sitting in the office. And we live by that by that model. When things kind of fell apart, earlier in the year, there were a lot of companies that were struggling, and they didn't understand, how can I save the business and then go from survivability to continuity. At RingCentral, what we did is we simply told everybody, hey, take your laptops, go home, see you in an hour. And that's really the way things happen is we closed up the offices, everybody went home, and we're back up and running. And we're conducting business as business as usual. And it really is a great way of being able to do things, because now you're able to work safely, securely, you're able to work comfortably, and it's a huge benefit for people now. From a day in a life perspective, and knowing that we love to walk the talk. And so, what we're looking at right here is the end user experience. And if I wanted to go through the platform, I could take 4 or 5 hours and go through everything within the system and, do that. But, we just wanted to focus on the end user experience, because that's really the focus of what the day-to-day life is, and understanding that, from a knowledge worker perspective, is this is your interface to the world. And this is about 5 years worth of development that we've done through several different phases. And those of you that have known RingCentral for a while understand a lot of the pain that we've gone through to get to this point. We've had a lot of great products. We had our soft phone, we had our meetings client, we had our messaging tool, and they all performed very well, but they were still very disparate applications, and it caused a lot of problems with app exhaustion and things of that nature. And our user base and our partner base said, hey, we need a single user experience to make it easy for for our customers, for our users to be able to work. And this is what we have right here, and this is what we call the RingCentral app. And this is a true UCaaS component. This is multiple layers of communication that's built into a single experience that ties everything together. And so the way that it's laid out is very logically. So what we do is we use vertical columns we call rails. And over on the left-hand side is our feature rail, which has all of our functions built in here. Interestingly enough, if you look at it, you'll know that the phone widget is actually third underneath. It's not prevalent. It's not the most prevalent form of communication anymore. It's still very relevant in the world out there, but it's not the dominating driver in the way that we communicate. As the younger workforce is coming out, what we see is that there is they have a much different way of thinking and doing things than we did 15, 20 years ago. I've been in the industry way too long, and and I started my career working in data and voice, and they were two very different things, and now it's all together. And we see that again, that younger generation is they want a different way of being able to do things. A smartphone is just it's a handheld data device that also happens to do voice, and we understand that. And so this is a model that we live and breathe by. So when looking at the functions that we have here, we have our messaging component, we have the ability of being able to do video, which we can operate either over RingCentral's embedded product, our RC Video. We can also use the RingCentral Zoom product, which we call RingCentral Meeting. So as a customer, you have the option of using either, depending on which feature sets that you're looking for, depending on how your business operates. So you do have that functionality. We have the phone capability, so that for those people that still have a significant need of being able to do things by voice, we have a web RTC widget that allows you to do everything right within the community as well. And then we also have contact management, as well as what we call task events, our tasks and events that I'll talk about here in just a few minutes. Now, what's really interesting about this is this gives you the ability of being able to function over a client. You can also work over an HTML access with the same level of functionality you do with a client-based application. So if you, for one reason or another, you can't, whether it's a security restriction, if it's a business requirement, company policy, things of that nature, that you can't run it on a client, we can also run it over HTML. This information is secure. All of our data is encrypted in transit and at rest. So you don't have to worry about vulnerability of the data as it's being processed and stored. And so it's one of those things that we want to make available to the users that are out there. So coming back over here into the client version. So back into the messaging piece. So what we have here, this is our navigation rail, which allows us to see all of our active communications that are going on out here. And it used to be very difficult to manage. I would have to, all of my applications or all of my conversations that I have going on, I would have to scroll down and I have to find out who's active and who's trying to talk to me and try to pick that out. But we have the ability now that we can filter on unread so that it collapses the conversations. You'll notice too that there are different colors of counters that are in here. And this lets me know conversations that are general and conversations that apply to me specifically. So anything that is identified here in orange, it lets me know that somebody is talking to me either directly or as part of a team conversation they've addressed, and it's something that I need to go in and take a look at. So for example, here coming into Matrix, this is, you can see Mr. Russell here letting me know that something needs to happen, or just letting me to give me some feedback on things that are going on. And, and through what we call an app mention, it's a way to personalize that conversation even within a group environment. So you're able to direct those messages and things of that nature. We are constantly evolving this product. So what we're going to be seeing coming out in the next not next release, but the release following. So we're going to be seeing this coming out right around the end of Q2, is the ability of being able to thread these conversations. So as we're looking down through here, we'll be able to group those conversations into relative topics, so that I don't have to come down and I don't have to search through a whole conversation to see what the context is. I'll actually see the grouping and thread that conversation into different components. So it'll make it a lot easier for me to be able to recognize it. Oh, and and absolutely right. Thank you very much, Kyle. That's very, very true. Is that we do work well with other companies' platforms, because it gives us the ability within this messaging piece as being able to invite people outside the organization into your conversations at no additional cost. So when we, so where that comes into play from a knowledge worker perspective is that for vendors and suppliers and customers and prospects and things of that nature, I can start these conversations for real-time knowledge transfer, and I don't have to consume additional licensing in order to make this work. All I have to do is I come up here, I click on my new action, I select new message, I put the email address of the person that I want to send the message to. If they have already registered with RingCentral, it will resolve the name and immediately start a conversation with them. If they're not already a member, it'll send them an email invite It takes about 5 to 10 seconds for the user to go ahead and register on our service, and then they're able to immediately start taking part in the conversation. When you invite somebody in as when I invite somebody in as a guest into my conversations, they only have access to the information that I give to them. So it's a very secure environment. So these conversations we have in, even though I'm inviting them in, I'm not giving them global access and everything else. I can have individual conversations, I can have team environments with them, and they only have access into the specific repositories that I give them permissions to. In the middle, I was just talking about what we call the conversation rail. This is where all of my active conversations are. You see Kyle has his GIF going on here, but we do support formatted messaging, which was a huge ask for our users now, because it used to be that we would put your message format in there. It was very difficult. You'd have to know the feature codes or the star keys, things of that nature, in order to format your messaging. But we provided the ability of being able to do that now within the environment. Also to be able to do emoji response, we do GIF response, and then we also have the ability of being able to create tasks and events, notes, and also for people that are coders, you can even embed code snippets in here now for like XML editing and things of that nature. So again, the knowledge, being able to transfer knowledge between them is huge. Over on the right-hand side is what we call the shelf, and I'm going to shift my conversation down here into there. And so what's really interesting about the shelf is that, when we talk about the conversations, traditionally in an email environment, there's a couple of different limitations that it has. One is file transfer. If I need to share information among a person or with a person or among a group of people, one is most email providers are throttling or limiting the size of the attachment that you include to 10 or 20 megabytes in size, which today is not very big. I mean, really, that's just the way it goes. And then the second thing is, if I have to share a file out to a group of individuals, and especially if it's something that requires manipulation or editing, how do I ensure that everybody is working from the latest generation of file as this thing's being moved back and forth? So unless I do a call out to another application, in order to maintain all of this, it makes it very difficult for me to do that. And if I'm doing that, now what I'm doing is I'm creating an external link, which is now creating that app exhaustion environment that I was talking about previously. With RingCentral, the thing, we don't throttle the size of the file, and we don't limit the amount of information that a person can put here into the shelf. So there are companies such as engineering or architectural companies, things like that within our customer environment, that they have huge files that they're putting out here. We're talking gigs, and in some cases even terabytes of information that they're dropping into this. And we as RingCentral are just absorbing this as a cost of doing business. We understand the need that customers have, and so we are we're making sure that they have the availability of that information. And then what it also does is we also do version control within here. So as I go in and I change these files, I have the ability that I can either overwrite, or I can create a child underneath here with an additional revision, and so from there it will let me let everybody know. It'll send notification out to everybody who's part of this environment that file was changed. So that now, I've got that version control. I have making sure that everybody is working from the same sheet of music, and so it makes things a lot more efficient than working things through email. So it's a really huge environment. Plus, I have the ability of being able to extend this out onto mobile. So give me just a second here, and let me pull this into my mobile experience.
And Joe, we are getting some questions here within the Q&A that we will want to leave some time to address too.
Absolutely. I'll take just another 2 minutes, and then what we'll do is we will go ahead and make sure we get those questions answered live.
Love it. Love it. And Joe, as you're doing this and bringing this up on your mobile device, I was a very heavy mobile user here, especially being remote for 4 months on the road. I think we all on this call could probably agree taking part in a variety of different web conferences over the course of the last 9 months has been robust, a lot of them. And the one thing I really, really like about the RingCentral platform is that it provides a little bit of accountability, not only leading up to the video call, but also follow-up, tasks, creating stuff. Because I think once again, we've all experienced a video conference, and then we walk away from that video conference and going, what did that just accomplish? What is my action items? Or it just kind of falls off the rails. I think with the tools like RingCentral and the application and applying some of those tasks, like I've done so here in Joe's screen share today, we do have some real deliverables afterwards. We do provide a little bit of accountability and follow-up. So we, to try to prevent this video conference to go off the rails.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true. And it's a function we call Meetings 360, and it's because what it does is it creates a life cycle of project management and conversation control that extends to both sides of the video conference. What we do before the meeting, the resources and things that we share, the conversations that we have, then we have our web conference, and then what we do after that, how we assign accountability and follow up to that, through tasks and events and things of that nature. And so now what we're doing is we're turning this more into a project management function than a simple conversation. And that also increases the efficiency because now there are deliverables that are associated with that information. So what we're looking at right here is my mobile component. You'll notice that the experience is virtually identical to what we see on the desktop. So being able to take this into mobile is huge. And then if I click up here into the three dots, I even have the ability of being able to pull up the shared information. So all the files that I share within here, as long as my mobile device is capable of displaying and editing that information, I can even pull that up into my mobile environment. So I don't have to worry about, because this is all cloud stored, is to overrunning the resources on my environment here. And so this is a huge thing that we have to provide us that functionality. And then I also have the ability of being able to do my click to interact. So I can click the call, I can click the video conference and things of that nature, and I can run it all from my mobile environment, including up to screen sharing. So I can do everything through here, even though I may not be sitting behind my desk. And and now it allows me to be efficient when I'm away from the desk. And again, that kind of goes back to Matt's comment earlier about work from anywhere. It's not just work from home; it's actually working from anywhere, so that I can maintain that same level of efficiency. On that note, I tell you what, Matt, let's go ahead and shift gears. And whoops, sorry about that. Didn't mean to record that. Let's go ahead and shift gears and tackle a couple of those Q&A questions.
Yeah, so our first question comes from James Cass, and he's been active on this, and he's asking whether or not we have a usage-based pricing yet, as opposed to a user-based pricing. So use case, they have a lot of phones that give very little, if any, usage, lobby phones, kitchen phones, emergency phones, etc. Do we provide a plan for just basic dial tone and based on minutes used versus having a profile just associated to that?
That's a really good question, because this is something that just came up to me earlier in the week that they were soliciting some input from the field engineers on from product management. As we understand, that we're being a license-based model, that it can sometimes be cost prohibitive. Well, we don't offer a usage-based model. However, we are exploring the ability of providing a cost-effective solution for customers that's even below Essentials. So if you look at Essentials, that comes in about $20 a month, and it doesn't offer a lot of functionality. But we're looking something in the $5 to $15 range as a base package, which will offer dial tone functionality, things of that nature for customers that have very, very limited needs. And so it's going to make us more competitive with the Vonages, with the Jives, with the Fuses of the world, where they're going down market, and where budget is more of a driver than functionality. So stay tuned. That is coming out. But again, this was something we just started exploring.
Awesome. Another one here with regards to our encryption. Is it truly end-to-end encryption? I'm guessing that this is probably based on the GLIP messaging back and forth.
So the way the messaging works, when we say end-to-end, so that's also assuming that it is encrypted while it's being processed within our servers. That is a very difficult and resource-intensive thing to do. So what we do is we encrypt from the endpoint to our platform. We de-encrypt it while it's being processed. Now, the data is still secured because we use Tier 4 data centers, as well as strict auditing controls, as well as access controls. So only even a certain group of people within our environment have access to it. So it's very, we keep that information private. And then as that data is then being manipulated at the other end, then or sent to the other end, it's then re-encrypted and sent to the other endpoint for messaging. And all this happens, this all happens very quickly, and it's much more efficient because we do manipulate it while it's unencrypted within our services. But ingressing and egressing our network, it is completely encrypted and secured. And likewise, data that's being stored, so as it's being transferred into storage, it's re-encrypted, and then it's placed within our storage environment in an encrypted method as well. So those are the ways that that's the way we safeguard that data.
So RingCentral employees are not going to be able to see various conversations on entities outside of our organization just for
not without somebody knowing about it. I mean, we can't do it subversively. No.
Gotcha.
We have a measure of transparency in there, to make sure that we do let customers know that this is the way that this information is being trafficked. But at the same time, we have controls in place, and we also have third-party auditing in place as well to make sure that we're complying with privacy rules that our customers require.
Gotcha. Could a customer essentially bulk or back up conversations across all users? Like maybe this is a function of an admin. Could they back up those conversations?
Yeah, absolutely. So you not only can you back them up, you can also set retention policies on there as well. So if your company, so if you need to archive that information that is available here through administrative functions within there, likewise, if you need to restrict the storage of that information, I know that there are some legal and medical organizations. They say, well, you know what? I don't want to keep that information forever. I want to make sure it's being deleted. So you have the ability that you can set retention policies on there as well. Excuse me.
Excellent. Hey, Ryan,
so
Kyle, thank you.
I don't want to hijack the Q&A. We got a lot of great questions coming in, but we are at the top of the hour. Thank you for the audience for those questions. Any questions that you've had throughout this time with us, please feel free to reach out to your Matrix Networks representative. We'll align you with the appropriate resources and follow up on those. Thank you very much to the panelists. Shruti, it's time for bed. Thank you for spending some of your evening with us. We very much appreciate it. Shruti did put a link to a free trial of WingMan. Matrix had the opportunity to embark on that journey ourselves. And as somebody that oversees sales, not only sales, but customer service, it really is remarkable what you can get from the solution. So please take advantage of that. Lastly, I want to mention that this was, again, the first of 4 series that we're putting on this quarter. And so we're inviting all of you to return on January 26th to take a deep dive into Intro to MTalk. And really what that means is an introduction to managed phone systems. Matrix provides a white label solution we call MTalk. And we'll be discussing the power of what that means for administrators and users when it comes to local first and second tier support and the advantages that you can get with a platform like that. So if there's nothing else from my esteemed panelists, I want to wish everybody a very happy Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you in the future, and cheers to everyone.
Thanks so much.